I'm actually live. Hi everybody, David Millard here, and I'm broadcasting this webinar from my own little office here in sunny Farnham in Surrey. And today's webinar is all about using Excel tables. I've been using Excel tables for quite a while, and I'm always impressed by the power that they give you and the ease with which you can expand tables. Where this really came to light recently was when I was training people in a large energy company. One of the things that they had was that their data kept growing over time as more data was added to it. This was a trading floor similar to the the banks or the financial institutions. So as they sold more, traded more, added more transactions, and so the spreadsheets that they had, the financial models that they had, kept breaking because they couldn't absorb them. The addition of tables has made everything just completely seamless now. So I'm a real believer. And more than that, if you embrace tables, then I'll introduce you today on this brief webinar about the concept of structured referencing, which is something that Microsoft call the way that you refer to cells or ranges of cells when you're using a table. So without any further ado, I'm going to switch over to Microsoft Excel now, and you can download the spreadsheet that I'm going to use. It's a little spreadsheet called Data List. If it's not in the link in the description below this video, then I will email it to you as soon as the video is finished. Okay, so I'm switching over now. So this is my little spreadsheet. As you can see, it's called datalist.xlsx. And at the moment, the data in here is arranged in a range. If you have a look through it, I'll just scroll through, you can see that we have just over 381 rows of data. This data is just describing a number of flights that leave the UK for foreign destinations. These are holidays. Now, at the moment, I've got several fields in here, the country field, the resort field, the departure field. They contain various types of data, and as I'm sure you know, if you're using Excel as a database, then you need to make sure that these tables contain fields, so the columns are fields, and that each of these fields contains the same kind of data. So in the case of holiday type, it's obviously a text field. In the case of the cost field, it's a number, but it could just as easily be currency. The same for nights, and the departure is a date field. So what's the problem with this? Well, lots of things really. It's static. That's the main thing. It doesn't grow. It doesn't move. It's inflexible. It's rigid. It's static, and it can cause problems, like I said at the beginning, if the data that you have is going to be extended. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this range of data into a table. There are several ways that you can do that. I'm just going to select a single cell in the data, this one, for example, but it could be any. And then I'm going to use a keyboard shortcut, Control and T. So I'm holding down the Control key and pressing T on my keyboard. Excel puts the marching ants around the outside here. Okay, it's also picked up the fact that the first row contains different kinds of data because these are the headers. Okay, and it's put a tick in the box there that says my table has headers. I'll say okay to that. And there we are. It's now been formatted as a table. Now, that's the quickest way of doing it. But if you're looking for alternative ways, then you can go up to the Insert tab. So clicking Insert gives you a table here. Okay, or you can go from the Home tab over here and Format as a table. Okay, so if you click this button, then it'll open a gallery and you can choose a layout from there. These table styles are fairly, well, they're fairly boring really, but the default one is this one, this pale blue. I'm going to change mine to this one because I think it renders a little bit better on video. So I'm going to choose this first style, but of course you can choose cancel that for a second. You can choose any one you like. I've forgotten I've already put a table on there. I've already created a table. So what I'm going to do now is go up to the Table Tools Design tab, and I'm going to choose a different style from this gallery here. Okay, so I'll just choose this grey one. But as I say, you can choose whatever you like. Now, what's the advantage in this? Well, we've turned it into a table. The first thing is, of course, it's now an object. So as soon as you're in the object, then you've got Table Tools, this contextual tab, and there's a ribbon that's got all kinds of commands here. This design ribbon contains tools specific to this table. The first one, and probably the most important one, I think, is this, the fact that you can now give the table a name. Now, this table contains the details of a number of flights, so it's logical for me to call this table flights. I'm just going to rename that. And here's a bit of good practice. It's customary in databases to name the object or identify the object with a single letter. So for example, you put a lowercase f in front of a form, or a lowercase r in front of a report, or a lowercase, in the case of a table, a lowercase t. So I'm going to continue that here and put a T in, so that anybody coming to look at this spreadsheet after me, after I've made it, will know what it is. Okay, so I'm going to hit enter. So I've now renamed my table. Okay, my table is now called T Flights. Why is that important? Well, we'll be able to use the name of the table when we create calculations. That's the main thing. Okay, now there are lots of things that I want to go through in this short space of time that we have together. But the first one I'm going to show you is that freeze panes could easily become a thing of the past. So watch what happens when I'm clicked in the table and I scroll. Okay, I'm just going to scroll vertically. Okay, so see that what happens here, A, B, C, D, all these column letters become the name of the field as I scroll. So I don't need to freeze panes anymore. Okay, now that will only happen if I'm clicked in the table. If I click outside, then it doesn't make any difference. Okay, they just stay as they always were. But in this particular case, I'm going to stay in the table, okay? Because the other thing that we can do is, look at this, remove duplicates. Now, I don't know how many of these 381 records that we've got here are duplicated. There could be loads of them, I've no idea. But I'm going to click on this tab here, remove duplicates. And what happens is Excel opens the remove duplicates dialog box. And by default, all of the fields, in other words, all of the columns in my table are ticked. Okay, so what it's doing here is it's not looking for duplication in a specific field, because obviously things like the countries or the names of the airport would be duplicated many times, but it's looking for all of them. So it's looking for completely duplicated records. Now, when I say OK to that, bingo, look at that. Excel's gone through and it says actually 90 of those records, those 381, were duplicated. So I've got rid of them all for you, and the ones that remain, 290, are all unique. All right, so that's a serious time saver, guys. Really, really fantastic. Okay, so now I've got rid of my duplicates. I've actually renamed my table. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add totals. Now, if we go down to the bottom, the moment, yeah, you can see that there is a border around this table. This little symbol in the bottom right-hand corner, I hover my mouse over it, you'll see it changes shape to a double-headed arrow. That will allow me to extend the table. I can extend it by dragging in either horizontally or vertically. Vertical directions, but we'll get onto that in a minute. But at the moment, I have no totals here at all. Okay, so I can't do anything. If I want to average the number of nights that people spend on my holidays, I'd have to come down here and put an average function in. And then, of course, if I add to my data, I'm going to lose that function. I've got to make it again. It's a pain, but because we're dealing with a table now, it's not a pain. It's really easy. So up on Table Tools, the Design tab, all I've got to do is put a tick in that box, and look at that. Excel has now tried to add up the last column of the table, and in fact it has done. But let's look at the nights now. If I wanted to average these nights, all I've got to do is choose an average. Okay, and now it tells me the average number of nights that people are staying is just over 11, 11.22. Now that's useful, but where this becomes really useful is when we start to apply filters. Okay, now if you look at the formula that is creating this figure here, you can see it isn't actually an average function, it's a subtotal function, and the 101 means that it's calculating an average on that particular field. Now you can do all kinds of things with these. You can change it to a count if you prefer. So let's change this word here, total. I'm going to change that to a count. Okay, we've got the choice of count and count numbers. I'm going to change that to a count, and now it tells me how many records there are, 290. So all the normal functions are available in this total row. And the great thing is we can turn it off with one click, and we can turn it back on again with one click. And if I decide to filter, let's go up to country. Let's say I just want to see the flights that go to Portugal. In my filter box here, I'm going to search. I'm just going to start typing POR, and up pops Portugal. Okay, now I can see how many of those flights go to Portugal. Okay, it's given me a count at the bottom, 29, so 10% in other words. Now those flights are, you know, really it's useful to be able to tell. You see what's happened to my average now. My average stay has now dropped down to 9.75. Now let's say I only wanted to see the flights that go to Portugal that leave Gatwick Airport. Okay, so I'm going to filter again for Gatwick. This time I'm just going to untick select all and tick Gatwick and say OK, and now I can see that there are actually only 4. So you see how quick this is. This is incredibly quick and incredibly powerful. I can clear these filters again with just one click, get rid of that, get rid of the filter for country. And now I'm back to where I was. Okay, so this is amazing. This is really, really fantastic. But where it becomes even better is when we start to expand it. Now, as I said to you at the beginning, we had a situation where data was growing over time as additional transactions were added on. We'll do that in a minute. We'll add some extra data onto the bottom of this table. But before we do that, I'm going to show you how we can also add additional fields. Okay, so in the first row here in H1, I'm going to type in passengers. Okay, and hit enter. Bingo, look at that. As soon as I type in passengers, because it's a table, Excel assumes that we want the formatting continued. Brilliant. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to put another field in here, and I'm going to call this one revenue. Okay, so once again, formatting's been continued. Now, I don't want to waste anybody's time by going through and have you watch me put random numbers in here. So I'm just going to use a rand between function to put in just a random number. All right, so I'm just going to click in the first cell in the table, so the first blank cell under passengers, and I'm going to use rand between. So I'll say equals, start to type in rand, and this is the one that I want. Double click to enter it, and then we need to put in 2 parameters, a bottom and a top figure. So well, you can't have a holiday fewer than 1 people. Okay, so I'll put in 1, and then let's say 9. We'll just assume that 9 people will be going away. Now the thing with a rand between function is it's a volatile function, so as soon as I enter this, I'll then need to copy these random numbers and paste them back as values. Okay, but before I do that, watch what happens when I hit enter. Yikes, it's now put a rand between function in every one of these rows. Look at them. That's absolutely brilliant. I'm now going to select all of these cells. Okay, so I click at the top, shift control and the down arrow takes me down to the bottom. Okay, and then I'm going to copy those, control and C, and I'm going to paste them back as values. Okay, so just paste them back as values, and that now removes the rand between function, and it just leaves me with a blank cell with a number in it. Okay, so I haven't got a function in there that's going to change every time I refresh it. Now I've just got a number. Now, okay, that's brilliant. If I wanted to, I could go down here, I can add a total to this. Okay, so how many passengers have we carried? Let's just add them up with a sum function. 1388. Okay, so see how fantastically quick and easy it is. But watch this. Now I'm going to multiply the cost of each of these holidays by the number of passengers that have taken it, okay, to give myself a revenue figure. So I'm going to go up here into the formula bar. Now this is really important, really, really important. This is the basis of everything that happens from this point forwards. Okay, this is structured referencing. So I'm going to say equals, and I want to multiply the figure in the cost field by the figure in the passengers field. Okay, now I'm actually in the table, so I don't need to reference the table. So what I'm going to do is just put in a square bracket, and look what happens. Excel gives me all the fields. This is a list of all the available columns in this table. This is the one I want, cost. Okay, close the square bracket, and then I'm going to put in an asterisk for a multiplication symbol. You see what's happening? These are, it's reacting as if these were named ranges, which they are. Put in another square bracket, and this time I want my new field. Now I've only just created that. You just see me create it, but it already appears in this list. Double click, close the square bracket, okay? And you can see the color coding going on here again. So I've now got my cost field multiplied by my passengers field. And when I hit enter, wow, look at that. Excel adds the whole thing up for me, okay? It performs that calculation, not just in the first cell, but down all of them, each and every one, right down to the bottom. And if I want to add this up, I've got the ability to just simply put in a sum function. It's amazing, isn't it? Absolutely fantastic. Now, before I finish, I'm going to go and get some extra data and show you just how easy this is. And the data is held in a CSV file. I'm not sure where it is, to be honest, so I'll have to have a little hunt around. But before I do that, I'm just going to turn off the total row. You don't have to do this, but I think it works better. Now, let me see if I can find this CSV file. There we go, extra data.csv. Okay, so I'm going to open that. There it is. Okay, so these are the same kind of fields that we had before. We've got a field for country, the destination, airport, this is the date, the number of nights, and so forth. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy that data. All right, so I'll just select it, right click, and copy it, move back to my other spreadsheet, my data list spreadsheet, okay, and I'm going to click at the first blank row beneath my populated data and paste. Okay, and that is how tables really, really shine. So all I've got now is the data. It's been absorbed into the table, and you can see what's happening here. The figures that we had, these are the prices. These formulas are just going to carry on. So all I have to do now is just put in a random number for passengers. And my calculations are all happening by magic. If I wanted to, I can click back in the table, go back up to the top and add a total row again, and there's my new total. So that's it really. I'm going to switch back to the camera again now. There we go. And I'm going to wind it up there. Okay, so not a very long webinar at all, but I hope you find that useful. It has made the most remarkable difference to the people that I've shown this to, and it makes your data management incredibly sophisticated. So that's all for now. Watch out for an email, and I'll send you those practice files. Okay, so thanks for watching. See you next time.